through heaven, she's made it through hell. It's just another story to tell. Have you ever felt you're missing the dream? Have you ever wished your life was like the movie on the screen? Filled with heartbreaks and fights through Hollywood nights. Making up a bar queen on the phone in the great big boulevard, the place she belongs. It's just another story she tells. Have you ever felt you're missing the dream? Have you ever wished your life was like the movie on the screen? Filled with heartbreaks and fights through Hollywood nights. Through Hollywood nights. Through Hollywood nights. You always looked after me, brother, when we were children. You always had my back. You took all the blame when our father caught us doing things that drove him mad. Through the years I could lean on you when I messed up. I'd call you in the night, but I broke too many promises and we split up. Though I still need ya, you gotta save me now. I'm slipping so far down. It's only you I trust to set me free from this. I don't know how I got into this awful spot. I don't know where it ends, so I could use your helping hand tonight. I wanna say that I'm sorry, I got sidetracked and I left you in the cold. I've seen your side of the story, I felt the drawback. My mistake took its toll. Finally, I have realized I was dead wrong. I wasn't thinking straight. No more lies, and from here on out I'll be better, 'cause I still need ya. You gotta save me now. I'm slipping so far down. It's only you I trust to set me free from this. I don't know how I got into this awful spot. I don't know where it ends, so I could use your helping hand tonight.
From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain, it's the heart of a villain. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain, it's the heart of a villain. Hey yo, heart of a villain beats hard in the centrifuge. Bearded BP, 100 interviews. All it takes is 2 mics and 1 line. This is Bearded Villains podcast worldwide. Driving cross countries, getting ball tires. Fam across ponds, always inspired. Chapters connect, and then it's on fire. Check your phone, cause BV is like a live wire. They said that we couldn't do it and that another could. Never underestimate the power of brotherhood. Every bro, every chapter, every caption. Heart of a villain, bro. Lights, camera, action. Action, action, action. Let's go. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain, it's the heart of a villain. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain, it's the heart of a villain. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain, it's the heart of a villain. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Thursday night edition of the Heart of a Villain, the podcast and live stream devoted to the Bearded Villains Worldwide Brotherhood and the lives they are changing all over the world. Tonight, guys, wow, tonight we have one hell of a topic. And I mean to tell you what, you guys came out strong on this one. And I love it. I love it. This is something I've begged for you guys to do for weeks, for months, for years even, for you to jump into the topic. When I'd send something out there into the atmosphere of BV in Instagram or line chat or wherever it is, I've asked for you guys, and it was this topic. This is the one that, oh my gosh, sent you over the edge, and you were ready to chime in, and I love it. So, guys, welcome to episode 140 of The Heart of a Villain. It is June 23rd. June 23rd. We're going to have one more, if my math is correct, one more of these episodes in the month of June 2022. And then we're going to move right into July. Boy, this year is flying by, and I love to see it. So, guys, this is going to be one of those wow episodes, hopefully, because even though there's not a whole lot of back and forth between me and somebody else in an interview capacity, this is going to be me sharing with you points of view that were provided to me by more than 3 dozen of our brothers around the world. So it's a pretty incredible thing. What happened basically was a brother reached out to me, Mr. Rababa. We all know him that are here, our regular viewers. Rababa, 2 B's, Rababa Hayes reached out to me and said, hey, have you ever covered the topic of chapter burnout, of BV burnout? And I said, you know what? Honestly, no, I've not. We've kind of skirted around it. We've mentioned it before. But I said, that's a great idea. Let me just throw it out there and see what kind of feelers I get. And boy, did you guys come out crazy for it. So within just minutes, I had people sending me messages overnight while I was sleeping, guys from around the world sending me messages. It was so good because it's scary to see the response, really. There's people that reached out to me that have experienced and come close to burnout to the point where they wanted to leave but haven't. And I had no idea, and I've known them for a while. Other guys explained why they've decided to go chapterless or they've stepped back a little bit and why different things happen. And it's a much bigger issue than I thought. So I think it's really important, something that we cover here on the podcast that's devoted to the Bearded Villains Brotherhood, right? And it may not be something that every one of these points that we're going to talk about, you agree with, but somebody does. And it's important for us to recognize other people's point of view, no matter how strange it may be, no matter how wrong you may feel it may be. It's somebody else's point of view, and it's very real to them. So that's what we want to cover here tonight. we're going to do our normal stuff here real quick. We're going to buzz right through I want to say hello to some people here in the live chat real quick. We're going to buzz right through the merch that we normally do because there's a couple of new merch things that have come out and some other kind of cool things that have already been addressed, but I want to mention them again because they're for charity. So we'll buzz right through that and we'll get right into tonight's topic. But before I get too far into this, because we do have a bunch of people in here, and those of you who are new to the podcast, if you've never watched this thing live, thank you guys for being here and welcome. And if you can, check us out every week, every Thursday night we're here. This is the live stream version of the podcast that you can get on audio platforms everywhere. If you subscribe to the channel and then hit that little notification thing, you'll be notified whenever. This is what everybody on YouTube always says. But you'll be notified when the new videos come out. And subscribe, and then you'll be told when the new episodes come out, all that stuff. So let's get in real quick. I want to say hello to Bearded Ambitions. Now, if you have a real name that I know you by, or a IG name that I know you by, or something, and your YouTube name is different, I apologize. Don't make me do the transition in my head. I'm just reading off the top of my head real quick. Andy's here. How you doing, Andy? Andrew is here as well. Mr. Rababa, the mastermind behind the topic of the night. Yes. Franks and Beans is here as well as Mr. Kimak, BVENC. Love that one. Christian, how are you doing today? Good to see you. 83RN15. Not sure who you are. I'm sure I know who you are. Just don't know you by that name. 83RN15 is here. Youngsta's here with us as well. Good to see you. Mr. Mark Davis. How you doing, sir? The Reverend Nick is here. Mars. Sorry about that, Mars. For those of you who don't know, I accidentally started up a live of this podcast on the wrong kind of channel thing, and it duplicated a live stream for about 30 seconds. So he was one of the ones that found that out the hard way. Sorry, Mars. Derek, how you doing, buddy? Mr. Parsons is here as well. The weirdo got to hang out with Mr. Weirdo and his lovely bride, Sheena, for the first time this past weekend up at the Great Lakes meet in Minnesota. Tip of the cap to you guys up in Minnesota for doing an awesome job, by the way. So good to meet so many of you guys that I've been just chatting with before. They killed it, had a great event. So let's see who else is here. Antonio is hanging out with us as well as the Irishman, the bearded Irishman. How you doing, sir? Wonder where in the world you are tonight. He's a traveling man all over the world with his cars and whatnot. Tim is here as well with us. Good to see you, Tim. Okay. Did I already say Andrew? I think I meant, no, Andrew's here anyway. Just scrolling right through everybody's comments. So, guys, if you're here live, thank you so much for being here. Okay, real quick, I'm going to buzz right through all of the, the normal stuff that we get through, which is our merch, and then we're going to get right into the event, the actual topic of the night, which is BV Burnout. Let's do it. All right, so let's get into our chapter merch. Okay. All right, first up today on our chapter merch board, remember that the Bearded Villains over in Richmond, the Richmond Villains, have shirts, and more shirts for sale. They are doing just about every color of their logo that you could possibly imagine. They got purple, sand or tan, Irish green, maroon, royal blue, red, and or the OG black. $20 to $25 depending on your size. Available at bvrichmond.bigcartel.com. That's where you want to go for the Richmond merch. A new one today. I just found the Rocket City Villains for $12. They're doing a pre-order on this red, white, and blue Stars and Stripes patch version of their very cool, colorful chapter patch. RocketCityBV.BigCartel.com. It's for 2 weeks, up for a pre-sale, and the proceeds are going to their Halloween bash, I believe. So RocketCityBV.BigCartel.com is where you can go for that. $12. Get them while you can. Don't forget about a couple things here from previous weeks. The 3-star villains raising money for a great supporter, Renee, who had a medical emergency way back in January at the Smoky Mountain anniversary event to raise money for her. There's $13 patches. They're available through the 3-Star Villains at 3starvillains.bigcartel.com, the Heart Warrior patch for Renee. Also, we have the Bearded Villains East Washington, the Eastern Washington Boys. This is the series. There's a couple of Pride patches here coming up. Eastern Washington, EWBV.bigcartel.com for the Eastern Washington. As I was saying East, I was reading Beast. The Beast Side Villains, that's right. Eastern Washington with their Pride patch for $12, EWBV.bigcartel.com. Next up is Orlando's Pride patch for $10, including shipping, available at orlandovillains.org, orlandovillains.org. It's a very cool take on their X Factor, I believe, with the palm tree in it, orlandovillains.org for this guy. Next up, the Tennessee, Smoky Mountain, and Chattanooga chapters came together for a trifecta, we're going to call it. It's the Squamous Cell Carcinoma Awareness Patch. The Squamous Cell Carcinoma Awareness Patch. This thing is available for $12. All 3 chapters in the state came together for this one. It's available through the Smoky Mountain page, SmokyMTNVillains.bigcartel.com, SmokyMTNVillains.bigcartel.com. Then we have, this is a new one again, Bucko. Bucko, if you're going up to Canada for the Beards for Bucko event, it is hosted, if you didn't know already, it is hosted by 3 of the chapters up there in Canada, eh? That's right, it's the Toronto, it's the Lakeshore, and the OSW chapters coming together. Now, each one of them has a shirt to go along with this, so you can choose your favorite or just get them all 3. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do. It looks like they're all in like a heather gray color, $30 to $32, depending on your size. There's the Beards for Bucko Camp Toronto shirt, the Beards for Bucko Camp Lakeshore shirt. Each one has the different logo of the chapter involved. And then there's also a camper hat. It's a trucker-style camper hat. It says Beards for Bucko on it. All available for you at beardsforbucko.bigcartel.com. beardsforbucko.bigcartel.com. And then finally today I have the Star City Villains. The Star City Villains have a Out of the Darkness patch available for $12 at starcityvillains.bigcartel.com. starcityvillains.bigcartel.com. Very cool patch from our boys down there in Nebraska. Loyalty, respect, family. Very cool Out of the Darkness patch available to you. And that's what I've got so far on merch for this week. All right, I am going to need to take a quick drink here. Mountain Dew, 0 sugar. Once this is done, I'm going to roll into the zombie dust, big old can of zombie dust. If you didn't know, I have been trying to be good and not drink, is to get a little healthier, not drink during the weekdays so that I can perform a overhaul of this massive incredible physique of mine and work out Monday through Friday. Continue my workouts through the weekend, but allow myself to at least indulge in some adult beverages during the weekend. But I had a practice here on the show. Every time I did a podcast, I would have, some bourbon. There's some bottles back there behind me, or a nice beer or something like that. So it's been kind of a hard thing to get used to not doing. So every once in a while, especially on a night like tonight when we have a big topic, I need to have it. 3 Floyds, the zombie dust. At least I'm not going with the hard liquor tonight. I'll save that till tomorrow night. So, all right, guys. We've done the topics. We've talked a little bit about stuff. Now I had to make some notes. And boy, I'm telling you what, guys, I had to make a 2-sided spreadsheet / just a brainstorm sheet where I came up with all these different points based off of everybody's notes that they sent me. And I had some great conversations with brothers from all over the world, literally all over the world. Guys reached out to me. And this is not a problem that is just unique to my specific area to your specific area to the United States. Excuse me. This is something happening all over the world. So it's definitely something that we need to talk about. So I have first I have a couple of disclaimers for you. First off, as a reminder, I did not come up with this topic on my own. As a matter of fact, like I said, our bro Rababa, I know I've never talked to him and asked him if he loves that. I've just referred to him as Rababa or not. But Rababa, I get to meet him this year, so I'm excited. Mr. Rababa, Central England, over in the UK, came up with this idea when he reached out to me and said, BV Burnout, it's real. Let's talk. And I said, that's a great, awesome idea. Let's do it. So that's what we're doing tonight. Now, I will also mention that I cannot possibly, if you were one of the people that reached out to me, I cannot possibly go into every single nuanced area of each person's comment. Some people wrote me some very long messages, and I went back and forth with them over the last 24 hours. But rest assured, I tried to take the big pieces, the big picture items of each person's message and condense them into what I felt was basically 8 huge points and go from there. So just so you know, there's many commonalities between all of these. Another thing, I'm not going to be sharing the names of anybody who did reach out to me and share their opinion with me. That can go both ways. It can be a very good thing and a very bad thing. And I just choose not to do that to make it easier. So, and to make it safer for guys to feel confident and comfortable that, because one of the issues, we're talking burnout, right? One of the issues is guys, as you'll find out, their feeling of not having a voice, not being heard. So it's very real. And so I'm not going to be discussing who it is that reached out to me, even though I had a couple that said, by all means, the only person I'm outing here is Mr. Rababa, because he said to, and I wanted to give him full credit for this great idea. So I will not be sharing those names. The other thing too, I want to say is, if you are new to BV, if you are relatively new to BV, please do not let this discussion, kind of drown you down, get you down, or anything like that. Instead, I hope that what it does is it makes you very hopeful for the fact that there's men in BV who want to have these difficult conversations, who want to make things better, who want to see things get better, and recognize that everything isn't perfect like anything, and we can always do better. So please recognize that. Now, like I said, after speaking with dozens of brothers from around this world, from captains to villains, from relative newbies to those that claim the OG status, from men who have the Beard of Mayhem patch, to guys that are chapterless and choose to be so in a great way. I've compiled several striking things to talk about here, to touch on. And so I promise you this is not going to be like a newscast where I have stuff popped up over the top of me the entire night. But for the first couple points here, I did make a few slides so that we could talk, because I think it's very, 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 very important to bring some of these things up. So I'm going to break these down real quick with the 8, what I considered to be the overriding 8 sentiments from everybody's comments. And I forgot to hide them all. And the first one is poor leadership. Now, this poor leadership idea was the biggest. This was one that was explained in a lot of different ways by people. And it wasn't necessarily a throwdown or a cut on people's captains. It was leadership as a whole, leadership as both within and inside the club and outside, or inside the chapter, outside the chapter. Leadership doesn't have to necessarily have a title, but poor leadership is a huge issue. And we're going to get into some of the reasons why this was talked about. So poor leadership. Next one up was lack of communication. A lot of guys are very concerned, and have been for a long time, about a serious lack of communication. Now, keeping in mind, guys, that why these are so important is not because maybe you And I say this now to everybody who is in a leadership capacity within a chapter or has been a leader in a chapter capacity. If you've ever been a leader outside of BV, you probably would understand where I'm coming from with this. But keep in mind, these opinions are very real. And whether you believe that they're something that's occurring, whether you perceive this as a true issue, it's important that you recognize it really is. Whether you think it is or not, this is a problem. And if these things are not addressed, and nobody's ever going to be always super happy about everything, right? But if we don't start to address these things, BV could be in serious jeopardy going down the road in years to come if we can't see what these are doing to the club. So, lack of communication. Having no voice. A lot of guys speak about the fact that they feel like they really don't have a voice. And we're going to get into how that really affects things. Cliques. I didn't really think about this. You don't, once you get out of high school, you don't think of cliques as a thing, really. But they are very real. Cliques, the development of cliques are a very real thing in BV. And perfect timing as I say that, because Radar comes in with the banger. Too many bros feeling lonely in chapters because they don't fit into the clique. Yeah, exactly. It's a very real thing. Whether it's perceived by you or not, we need to recognize that that's a very real thing. Poor participation. Poor participation is another big one. And this can be a number of reasons why this poor participation happens. And sometimes they're very valid. They're very real. But there's a huge detriment to this as well. So we need to consider these things. Poor participation. Fake and dishonest brothers. Now, this is a very touchy one because what is fake? What is dishonest as far as brotherhood goes? As far as the brotherhood goes? We're going to be delving into this. What I've discovered, and I'm just going to give you guys a heads up now, we're not going to get through all of these tonight. And so this is going to be part 1 of 2. And it wasn't until I just got ready for the show at the very end of the night here that I realized that there was no way we were going to cover this unless I made it a 2-hour episode. So some of these we're going to be covering next week in next week's episode, and then we're going to get into some real hardcore areas where we can fix things. We're going to touch on those as well as we go through. Losing purpose. A lot of guys, well, not a lot. There are a handful of guys that reached out and talked about losing purpose. Losing their purpose within BV, losing purpose in general. And I think some of that comes from depression. I think some of that comes from a lack of a whole bunch of things that we're going to get into. So losing purpose. And then finally, feeling of abandonment. Feeling of abandonment. Now, this touches off a few other things that we're going to get into. And that one's going to be one that we're going to talk about next week. So the first handful that we're going to talk about this week, we're going to get down to, I believe we're going to get down to poor participation. So over the first 5 categories, I believe we're going to get down to for this episode, and then we're going to move on for the next 3 for the next week. But poor participation is what we're going to get down to, I believe. So this is the first and only one, guys, where I'm going to actually have a whole sheet here. Look at my double face. Look at this. How did this happen? I don't have any idea. Has that been like that the whole time? Boys. I don't know what to tell you. We're going to do this camera, and we're going to do a custom. And we're going to make this a triple big shot here. Those of you who are here live just don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm moving my camera. There it is. Look at that. Much better. All right. I didn't realize when I reformatted the thing that it would do that. I've been doubled up the whole time, huh? You guys didn't even tell me. Maybe you did and I wasn't reading. I was so going on. All right. So it's crazy. It's crazy. So poor leadership. And we're going to get into some of these reasons behind poor leadership. But before I get into the actual topic of poor leadership, I want to first discuss a couple of things. One of the overriding topics that came up, and let's go to full screen for this one. One of the overriding topics that came up over the last 24 hours while I was talking was the importance of family and family support. And as one of our brothers pointed out to me in his message when he was talking about family, he said that, some of our guys have very little family support outside of BV, meaning that their family structure, their family unit that they have at home doesn't either understand or doesn't support their time, their effort, their vision for being with and being a part of Bearded Villains. That's huge. That can be a huge detriment to a person's ability and a person's desire to want to be a part of this thing. One of the things that we reach out, one of the things when we are first going through the whole scouting process and we're going through somebody as a supporter and a hopeful, one of the things I know that we do is we make sure we find out from them what's home life like for you. What's that dynamic look like? We don't need to know the whole history, but we want to know what's the support structure like there. Are they supportive of you being a part of this? Because if they are not, it's going to make things for you that much more difficult. Not to say that it can't be done, but if that family is not there, if they're not going to be supportive of the time that you're going to spend away from your family to be a part of this. Now, it could be said that BV is family and you bring family with, and there are some brothers that are perfect examples of that. But not everybody in BV can bring their family with them, their actual blood family with them. That doesn't work for everybody. Other things have to happen in family life. So you can't. But you need to at least know that there's that support there. And if that support is not there, then that person's attention is always going to be diverted. They're always going to be thinking, they're over here at this BV event, but they're always thinking over here, can't wait till I get home because then I'm going to get yelled at for all this time I'm going to be spending with the guys and doing this thing. And so you need to know that there's a support structure there and that they support what you're standing for and what you're doing. That's huge to have that. So that's one factor. But the other thing too that's kind of come out with this is that for some people, Bearded Villains is their family. Bearded Villains and the brothers in BV are their family. And I mean that in every sense of the word, family. For those that do not have family outside of BV, for whatever reason, they're estranged from their family members. They really don't have a close family unit outside, but they have Bearded Villains. And so BV is their family 100%. And so for those in that situation, when that's all they have, they depend on it. They feed on it. They live with it. It's their life. And sometimes it comes back to bite them. Whether it's lack of support with an idea, whether it's commentary on the way they look, if it's commentary on the way they live their life, it hurts that much more for that chosen family to be treating you in such a way. So before I even get into the poor leadership thing, it's important that we consider family in those two huge areas. We need to never forget that family means different things to different people. And you have no idea what is going on in the lives outside of BV of these other people, these brothers that you share time with. the brothers you consider family. You have no idea, unless you really get to know them and you've known them for years, you have no idea what's happening in their life outside of BV. Their world could be going to shit. It could be going to hell. But they have BV. And if that part of it comes back and bites them, treats them unfairly, shows them some kind of discomfort, dishonor, mistrust, it's that much bigger of a deal. You never know what's going on in the lives of people outside. The other thing, too, before I get into the other is, I want to talk real quick about this often used phrase. Often used. Boy, often used it's used a lot. There's a phrase that goes around, and I know it's one of the first things I heard when I first became a part of BV. And it's kind of like the catch-all phrase that everybody says, not realizing that there's really a subtle undertone to it when you say it. It just rolls off the tongue, and people are used to saying it. But we need to be really careful about what we're saying when we're saying this to these new guys that are coming in, and to everybody else when you're trying to use it as an excuse for somebody's activity. You hear these words. You get out of it what you put in. You get